Hello and welcome to the POWERBOOST Meditation. Today, let us experiment with the theme, Who am I not? Who am I not? Generally, we begin the meditation by reminding ourselves of who we are. Who am I? And we all know that we say, I am a soul, I am a being of light. I'm an eternal being, imperishable being. Before even we ask this question to ourselves, who am I? I feel asking this question, who am I not, allows me to then eliminate the layers of forgetfulness of my true identity. And one by one, when I peel off the layers, then the real self, the true self, automatically becomes tangible, becomes accessible. Then I'm able to tap into the energy of the true self. And so generally all our thoughts are surrounding, we say there are three aspects to our consciousness. One is doing, one is having, and the other is being. Doing, having, and being. And so many times we take our self-respect or the sense of truth of who we are from our actions. Doing. If I'm able to do something, if I'm not able to do something, I tend to gear my identity towards that. But the reality is that whatever is there in the to-do field, in the doing field, is not who I am. It just defines the role, the part that I play in the drama of life. The other part is having. And so many times our thoughts are all around having. What do I have? It could be skills, it could be specialities, talents, something that I have. It could be even possessions. And many a times our sense of self is around having. But again, the reality is that all the haves are all props in the drama, are all props in the story. I do use them, but nothing really belongs to me, including my specialities or skills or talents or anything. And so when I disconnect, when I say, who am I not, I disconnect from the thoughts around doing and having. And then slowly I begin to experience the silence around the being, who I am. And so it's very important to clean up the mind with these thoughts of who I am not, thoughts of doing, thoughts of having, because they pollute the inner environment of the soul. And so once I've cleansed my mind of all these doing and having thoughts, who I am not, then automatically the mind rests on this experience of the true self, of who I am really. And then naturally, the experience of the soul emerges, and there is nothing that contaminates that experience. There's nothing that pulls the soul back into the doing and the having world. The soul easily just rests in the truth of who I am. So today let us experiment with this, who I am not, Let us get completely away from the identity around the doing and having, and experience the truth of being. Disconnecting from who I am not allows me to connect to who I am. Naturally makes me introverted. So let's take a few moments as we sit back and relax ourselves. I realize that in the dimension of the physical world, the drama of life, I play many different roles. And that role is defined by the actions, by the possessions. It's defined by doing and having. Let me just look at the character that I, the soul, play. With all the expansions of the doing and the having world. And I realize that this doing and the having world is very, very temporary. The doing and the having will change when I change the costume. And even within a particular costume, they will keep changing. The only thing constant in this doing and having existence is change. Let me slowly begin to detach from this external world. And let me come back to the experience of being of who I truly am, without any masks, without any tasks, without anything that belongs to the physical story. Just a pure presence, a pure presence of peace. A conscient being that is eternal, that is real, that is not dependent on anything in the physical story. My existence as a being of light is permanent. I gently come into the light of who I am. I disconnect from who I am not. Gently experiencing the truth of my being. As I connect with my truth, I also experience my home of silence, the home of light, where I, the being, I live, I reside, away from the complications, the expansions in the story. Silently resting in my home of silence. This is where I belong. Ours is a family of light. We are all held together in the silent presence, in the loving presence, accepting presence of the source, the divine. The divine always stays in the clarity, in the truth, never forgets who he is. I begin to experience the presence of the divine. As I have connected to my truth, I begin to connect to the truth of the source. And love emerges. Love that heals me. A love that removes the layers of who I am not. A love that allows me to be myself without any fear, completely safe and secure. I rest my mind on the divine as I soak in his presence. The world of the story is left behind. In this moment, there's only the one, and I, the soul. Everything else is not important. Just experiencing the silent communication, the silent relationship that I have with the source. I'm completely held in the truth of who I am. My relationship with the divine allows me to stay in the clarity of who I am. And as the being becomes real, as I begin to take the journey back into the physical story, a world of haves and to-dos, I maintain a clear distinction, a clear demarcation between who I am and who I am not. Even as I play my role in the story, I realize who I am and detached from who I'm not. Om Shanti. Thank you.